I've been projecting like mad for the last 3-4 days. One of the things that I've been experiencing a lot is breaking in on these inner dialogues that are going on just behind the scenes of what I'm verbally seeing, visually saying, I'm sorry, and experiencing. It's fascinating, really, to be aware of multiple layers of what's going on, to varying degrees. But I think in order to express to you cohesively what I'm experiencing, I have to put through at least one idea. And that idea is that what we view as a particular thing, take me for example, or a book or whatever, that these particular things aren't really so much that particular thing we think it is, so much as it is a relationship of sorts. If we look into that thing, we see that it is composed of what we might call smaller things, but we look at those smaller things and we see that actually what those smaller things are composed of are a particular relationship. Take the body. If we look at the body, we see that the body is composed of atoms. And we look into atoms and we see that the atoms themselves are composed of a particular relationship between protons, neutrons, and electrons. The sum total of an atom is this relationship between the protons, neutrons, and electrons. When we look into ourselves, when I look into myself, I'm seeing something very similar, that I am not a particular thing, a particular person, a single person, so much as I am a relationship between a certain set of energies / entities. And what's happening with me is my consciousness is starting to break in on this inner communication that's constant and ongoing, although my consciousness only now and again breaks in on it. I come in on these inner dialogues that are happening, and on a different dimensional level than the physical one here, for instance. And it's fascinating, really, because I'm starting to see how it's this inner dialogue, this relationship / communication / dialogue that's happening between myself and the inner energies that together in relationship compose me, that actually create the visual landscape and the scenarios that I move through and experience. And so, quite a few of my projections over the past couple days involved me breaking in on this inner dialogue that's happening just behind the scenes of everything that I step visually into and experience. So, the inner energies that work with me, and perhaps one in particular works with me in a particular way from its location and my location in the physical. So I may lay down and close my eyes And this energy will begin flashing me images. This has been going on for a long time. And what I will do is just say mentally aloud within myself what it is I'm seeing in as much detail as possible. I'm then flashed another image, and I do the same. And this sort of dialogue between us begins to alter my consciousness. It begins to bring me into the inner realms. It begins to bring me in closer to the energy that is projecting the images to me, until I arrive where that energy entity being is, and we're in a more face-to-face verbal dialogue in English, so that, of course I understand. Sometimes as this is happening, I lose consciousness. I fall asleep. I only make it to a certain point, and then whammo, I'm out. And then other times, I make it all the way in. But when I do make it all the way in, at this point, I'm generally projected into either an etheric projection or astral projection, where I'm put to work, moving through certain scenarios, working things out, eliminating fears, satisfying desires, all of that. There's been a lot of work over the past few days, with sexual energy. This is prominent in my experiences since the Kundalini began rising. And so, in my estimation, I'll just, I don't really know what's happening, but what I glean just a bit of is that I was taken into activity, second chakra activity, sexual center activity, and the projections one particular morning were just super intense. I had watched, the night before I had watched, the energies had me watch an Alex Gray documentary. And for those of you who are not familiar with him, Alex Gray is an artist, and he's a painter, and he paints a very unique way the human being, the human anatomy, the human biological systems, and then energetic systems, and all the way in. And seeing this, just I've always been very visual, so even just seeing his vision of, these systems, these biological systems, in the night, put me into a much deeper contact with my own biological systems, and the interconnectedness that I experienced between my biological systems, and all of the things I came to connect with in the night. I just felt a level of interconnectedness with that I generally don't experience. And this level of interconnectedness opened up a lot of activity, second chakra activity. That was just wild. I mean, I could not contain it. I could not even contain it in the etheric and astral. And I was having a simultaneous experience of myself in many places at once. And I'm not going to go into detail because it's just too graphic for me to attempt to put through right now. But at one point, I'm needing to express this energy in some way that wasn't being expressed at the moment. Something further needed to happen, and I arrive very fast, flying down this outside cement stairway that's leading into a playing field of some sort, like a football field, but not a football field, but like this. And I look down at myself and notice I'm just a point of consciousness, and I say, where's my body? And as soon as I say, where's my body, I arrive then fully in body. My body appears. And I'm aware of myself being in communication with someone here with me, and I'm telling this one that I'm going to strip naked and run into this field. This was the way I had come up with to, express the energy, to release some of this, to express it because it could not be contained. And as soon as I arrived in body, just the level of sensuality in which everything was being experienced, from my first foot landing on the cement and feeling the cement beneath my bare foot, was just too much. And this all happens in the matter of about 2 seconds, by the way. I make it about 2 steps down the flight of stairs toward this field when I see these 2 men. I fly, literally just fly myself into the darker haired of the men. Always tend to prefer the darker haired. Just take his face in my hands and kiss him hard. He didn't even know what was coming. I didn't even know what was coming. But my energy is just wildly out of control, absolutely unsustainable. And I, of course, am unable to sustain the environment and shift out. But it was a whole morning full of simultaneous experience in multiple locations, and aware of inner dialogues that I'm having just behind the scenes, just behind everything that's happening, and how these inner dialogues are actually creating these environments for me to experience and express myself in. Just amazing. Just amazing.